The 2026 FIFA World Cup was supposed to be football's greatest celebration. The biggest tournament ever staged. 3 host nations. 48 teams. Millions of fans. A month-long spectacle that FIFA promised would redefine the sport forever. FIFA called it historic. The host countries called it a once-in-a-generation opportunity. For players, coaches, and supporters around the world, it represented the pinnacle of football. And for one 34-year-old referee from Mogadishu, Somalia, it was meant to be the crowning achievement of a lifetime devoted to the beautiful game. His name is Omar Artan. But what happened next shocked the football world. He wasn't banned for making a controversial decision. He wasn't suspended for misconduct. He didn't fail a fitness test, violate FIFA regulations, or become involved in any disciplinary dispute. Instead, Omar Artan was denied entry into the United States. The very country hosting the World Cup refused to allow one of FIFA's officially selected referees to enter. After arriving at Miami International Airport, Artan was reportedly detained and questioned for nearly 11 hours. Despite carrying a valid visa, official FIFA documentation, and proof of his international refereeing career, he was ultimately placed on a return flight and sent back. Just like that, his World Cup dream was over before it had even begun. Yet the story didn't end there. While FIFA appeared to move on quietly, Europe responded in a dramatically different way. UEFA, one of football's most influential governing bodies, made a decision that has since sent shockwaves throughout the sport. Not through statements or press conferences, but through a powerful appointment that many believe was a direct message to the football world. So, who is Omar Artan? Born in Somalia, a nation that has spent decades rebuilding after conflict and instability, Artan rose through extraordinary challenges to become one of Africa's most respected referees. He joined FIFA's international referee list in 2018 and steadily climbed the ranks. In 2024, he made history as the first Somali official to referee at the Africa Cup of Nations. A year later, the Confederation of African Football named him Africa's best male referee, the highest individual honor available to an official on the continent. FIFA took notice. When the list of referees selected for the 2026 World Cup was announced, Omar Artan's name was proudly included. He was set to become the first Somali referee ever to officiate at a senior men's FIFA World Cup. It wasn't just a personal milestone. It was history for Somalia, history for African football, and history for the game itself. Then, in early June, carrying his dreams, credentials, and years of sacrifice, Omar Artan boarded a flight from Istanbul to Miami. He had every reason to believe he was about to take part in the greatest tournament of his life. Instead, what awaited him at the airport would spark one of the most controversial stories of the 2026 World Cup. What happened next only deepened the controversy. In an interview with the New York Times, Omar Artan revealed that U.S. border officials questioned him extensively about Somali politics and repeatedly asked about the militant group Al-Shabaab. Artan did everything he could to prove who he was. He presented his FIFA credentials. He showed documentation of his international refereeing career. He explained that he had been officially selected by FIFA to officiate at the 2026 World Cup. None of it changed the outcome. After nearly 11 hours of questioning, Artan was placed in a holding cell and put on the next available flight back to Istanbul. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security later confirmed his removal, stating that he had been found inadmissible due to vetting concerns. A senior administration official also told CBS News that the decision was based on derogatory information, including alleged associations with suspected terrorist organizations. Yet Artan says he was never given a clear explanation. Speaking to reporters after the incident, he expressed frustration and disbelief. "I think they have a problem with my country," he said. And that comment highlights the larger issue at the center of this story. Somalia is one of nearly 40 countries affected by U.S. travel restrictions that have become increasingly strict in recent years. But what makes Artan's case especially controversial is that he already had a valid visa. Think about that for a moment. His visa had been processed. It had been approved. He had boarded an international flight and arrived in the United States legally. Every indication suggested that he had met the necessary requirements before departure. Yet the final decision came only after he landed. The rejection happened at the border itself. Soon afterward, FIFA released a statement confirming that Omar Artan would be unable to participate in training activities or officiate matches at the 2026 FIFA World Cup because he had been denied entry into the United States. The statement also contained a sentence that quickly became the focus of criticism. In line with previous FIFA events, a host government ultimately determines who receives a visa and who is admitted into their country. In other words, FIFA's position was clear. The matter was beyond its control. And technically, that is true. FIFA does not control immigration policy. It cannot issue visas. It cannot overrule decisions made by customs and border officials. But while FIFA appeared to accept the situation and move forward, another major football organization chose a very different response. UEFA. Just hours before the opening of the 2026 World Cup, UEFA President Alexander Ceferin released a statement that immediately captured headlines across the football world. Not only did he publicly praise Omar Artan, but he also announced an extraordinary appointment. In cooperation with the Confederation of African Football, UEFA had selected Artan to officiate the 2026 UEFA Super Cup final. The match, scheduled for August 12 in Salzburg, Austria, will feature the winners of the UEFA Champions League against the winners of the UEFA Europa League, one of the most prestigious fixtures on the European football calendar. And with that appointment, Omar Artan is set to make history once again. He will become the first African referee ever selected to officiate a major UEFA final. The symbolism was impossible to miss. A referee who had just been excluded from football's biggest tournament was now being entrusted with one of Europe's most important matches. Ceferin's statement felt deliberate. He described Artan as an excellent young but already highly experienced referee, who had repeatedly proven himself at the highest levels of African football. Then came a line that many observers interpreted as a message extending far beyond sport. Football is made to connect people. UEFA, he said, wanted to demonstrate its respect for Omar Artan and for the outstanding officiating skills that had earned him international recognition. CAF President Patrice Motsepe echoed that sentiment, saying that Artan had made Somalia and the entire African continent proud. He described the Super Cup appointment as a landmark moment and a great honor for African referees everywhere. When you step back and look at the situation, the contrast is striking. FIFA, the organization that selected Artan for the World Cup, watched him lose his place in the tournament and largely treated it as a matter for government authorities. UEFA, an organization with no obligation to intervene, stepped forward and handed him one of the most prestigious refereeing assignments in European football. Whether intentional or not, the message was clear. One organization moved on. The other made sure the football world would not forget. To be fair, FIFA's position is not entirely without merit. There is a genuine legal and logistical reality at play here. FIFA does not control national borders. It cannot issue visas, overturn immigration decisions, or instruct sovereign governments on who they must allow into their country. When criticism began to mount, FIFA President Gianni Infantino reportedly urged people to chill and relax. While that response did little to calm the growing controversy, the underlying point remains: FIFA's power has limits when it comes to government policy. But this is where the story becomes much bigger than Omar Artan. Because the issue isn't just about one referee. The 2026 World Cup is spread across 3 nations, with the United States hosting the majority of matches. That means decisions made by US border authorities have the potential to affect not only referees, but also players, coaches, journalists, team staff, and hundreds of thousands of fans traveling from around the world. Artan's case attracted global attention because of his profile. But many believe it represents a broader concern surrounding the tournament. And there have already been other incidents. Take Iraq's national team. When the Iraqi squad arrived at Chicago O'Hare International Airport in early June, reports indicated that star striker Ayman Hussein was detained for approximately 7 hours while undergoing additional questioning. His mobile phone was reportedly examined during the process. Meanwhile, team photographer Talal Salah was held for more than 10 hours before ultimately being denied entry. Suddenly, Omar Artan's experience no longer looked like an isolated case. A senior Somali advisor to the Ministry of Youth and Sports argued that Artan's exclusion undermined football's commitment to fairness, merit, and equal opportunity. Whether or not one agrees with that assessment, the growing number of border-related incidents has become part of the World Cup conversation itself. Then there is the situation involving Iran. Iran qualified for the tournament and was originally scheduled to play its group stage matches in the United States. However, ongoing political tensions between Washington and Tehran created immediate uncertainty. Iranian football officials openly discussed avoiding travel to the United States while still participating in the competition. Reports suggested that FIFA explored alternative options, including relocating certain matches to Mexico. And that highlights the impossible balancing act FIFA now faces. Football is supposed to bring people together regardless of politics, nationality, or ideology. Yet international tournaments do not exist in a vacuum. Political realities, diplomatic disputes, and border policies inevitably shape the event. The challenge for FIFA is finding a way to protect the principle of global inclusion while operating within the realities of international law. Adding to the controversy is the role of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, better known as ICE. Authorities confirmed that ICE personnel would be present at World Cup venues as part of broader security operations. While officials emphasized safety and event protection, critics raised concerns about the potential impact on immigrant communities and international visitors. Those concerns quickly spilled beyond football. Workers at several major venues, including Sophie Stadium, voted to strike in protest, citing fears for themselves and their families. At the same time, more than 120 immigrant rights organizations reportedly issued travel advisories and warnings for supporters, journalists, and participants attending the tournament. And as if the political controversy wasn't enough, another issue has generated frustration among ordinary fans: the cost. For many supporters, ticket prices have become yet another symbol of a World Cup increasingly surrounded by debate. What was meant to be a global celebration of football is now raising difficult questions about accessibility, inclusion, and who this tournament is really for. And with the competition only just beginning, those questions are unlikely to disappear anytime soon. The controversies did not stop there. Reports that resale tickets for the World Cup final had reached nearly $33,000 sparked major criticism from fans and officials alike. New York's Attorney General even released a statement warning that no supporter should be manipulated into paying extreme prices for a seat at football's biggest match. Then came another unexpected issue. India, one of the largest football audiences in the world, entered June 2026 without a confirmed official broadcaster for the tournament. FIFA had reportedly pushed for a rights package worth around $100 million, but talks with India's major streaming platforms collapsed. That left hundreds of millions of fans uncertain about how they would legally watch the World Cup. And then there was the heat. Months before kickoff, universities and climate researchers warned that several U.S. host cities could experience dangerous temperatures during the tournament. FIFA responded by introducing mandatory 3-minute hydration breaks in both halves of every match. But for many players, that was not enough. Dozens of footballers signed an open letter urging FIFA to strengthen heat safety protocols and address the environmental impact of a 48-team tournament that requires huge amounts of air travel across an entire continent. Individually, none of these issues would define a World Cup. But together, they tell a very different story. A tournament that was promoted as the biggest and most historic celebration in football has already been forced to deal with immigration disputes, ticket pricing anger, broadcasting uncertainty, heat concerns, and environmental criticism. And this brings us back to Omar Artan. His case is historic because a FIFA-appointed match official has rarely, if ever, been blocked from attending a World Cup by the immigration authorities of a host country in such a public way. He was selected by FIFA. He had documentation. He traveled to the host nation. And still, he was turned away. That raises a serious question for the future. If FIFA cannot guarantee entry for its own appointed officials, what does that mean for referees, players, fans, journalists, and staff from countries with complicated political relationships with future host nations? FIFA has always accepted that host governments control their borders. But after Omar Artan's case, football may need stronger guarantees before awarding its biggest tournament.